Yes, folks, it's Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton, my new book. And I've been asked numerous times by people who have read my books, and why don't I read the actual books on the Audible version? Well, the truth of the matter is, it isn't my decision. It's the decision of the publishers, and they decided that they're going to use the actor Alan Turton, who does, I think, a very good job. I think there's a big difference between reading the book and actually writing it, which is what I do. But for a sample, I thought today I would read you just a little part from Chapter 1 of HMP Manchester Prison Officer Part 4. So you get a feel to see what it will be like if I actually read my own book. Not that I'm going to do, because it's sorted out by Sean Atwood, who owns a company called Gadfly Press. And do please like and subscribe, and add your comments down below. And if you have a look on Amazon, the book is currently number 1 in criminal biographies. It's also number 1 in a category called political humour, which I suppose in a way it is quite humorous. But you wouldn't think so if you were banged up down the block, which is where I'm going to start reading now. This is from Chapter 1, and it's describing the actions by staff that were partly behind the riot that took place, commenced on the 1st of April 1990 at Strangeways Prison. Here we go. Here is an incomplete list of the unacceptable practices perpetrated by prison officers on their victims. Food-free diet. The inmate may have angered one of the landing officers and thus become the subject of his retribution. The offending prisoner would be locked into his cell throughout the meal times so that he could not collect his food. The prisoner would then complain and create a disturbance by banging or kicking on his closed cell door. This was part of the plan. As soon as the landings were locked up and the member of staff, usually a senior officer, would open his victim up, there would be a team of officers waiting, and as soon as the victim came out of his cell, he would be snatched, uplifted, and dragged off to D1 and the block. There he would be further brutalised by the staff, have his clothing torn from his body, and flung naked into an empty cell. Subsequently, the prisoner would be formally charged with offending against good order and discipline, to appear for adjudication before the prison governor the next day. The missing letter, empty envelope. As an act of psychological torture, the empty envelope worked by playing on the victim's emotions. Prisoners serving long sentences generally rely on letters from loved ones to keep them informed of life outside the walls. For some, the weekly letter is all the contact they have with their family. Let me explain how the missing letter works. All the incoming mail goes through the prison censor's office. Once examined, the mail is then sorted into individual piles, landing by landing. The senior landing officer collects the mail for his landing and distributes it, delivers it to the prisoners. But if the senior officer has a grudge against a certain inmate, he may remove the letter from the envelope addressed to said inmate, then destroy it. The empty envelope is then either handed to the inmate or, more usually, placed on his bed. Thus the prisoner knows that he did receive a letter, but he didn't actually get it. This diabolical abuse will ensure the inmate and cause the inmate immense emotional turmoil as they worried and wondered what the missing message may have been. When asked about the empty envelope, the senior landing officer would deny all knowledge and suggest that it must have slipped out of the envelope. These kind of abuses were prevalent not only at Strangeways, but at Wormwood Scrubs. I'm not reading from the book now. I'm just telling you off the top of my head what happened. At Wormwood Scrubs, it was one Christmas I was working in the census office, and we were vastly behind because it takes a good deal of time. Get one letter, you've got to go through it to make sure there's nothing in there that's likely to cause disruption in the prison. And then you sign the letter, in blue pencil, put it back in its envelope, and it goes out for distribution. You put the landing address because you've got all the details there. But we were getting well behind, and we had about 2 big sacks of mail to do. And it was something like the 23rd or 24th of December, and we were trying to get these out. There were 4 of us in the census office, and the senior officer in the census office said, I'll sort this. So we went off for lunch, and when we came back, but they'd gone. These big, large sacks of mail that were waiting to be dealt with. So what the hell how did you do that? Yeah, I just took them to the fucking incinerator. They had a big incinerator at the Scrubs. What he'd done was put them into a hand-drawn truck at lunchtime, wheeled them round to the incinerator and burnt the lot. Seriously, that's the kind of thing that will drive inmates to distraction. And that is why the riots at Strangeways, partly, that's the kind of thing that was going on. So you can see that inmates were provoked. And as it says in my book, I actually went to the Crown Court and gave evidence for the defence to explain that if it had been me in that situation, then I too would have been on the roof ripping the tiles off. This is Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. And on Tuesday, that's next Tuesday, we'll do a live broadcast here at 7 p.m, and I will get it working this time. Worry not. I'm going to sing you a song now. I'm not going to do a poem today. Just going to sing you a song because it's quite a long song actually, so I thought I'd just do that. Don't forget to get my new book, folks. It's on Amazon. Alright, this is the oldest swinger in town, and I thought it would be quite appropriate really, seeing as I practically am the oldest swinger in bloody town. When you score with a chick in a disco bar, take her home in your hairy little car, then you find you went to school with a ma and pa, you're the oldest swinger in town. When you won't look in the mirror in the light of day, swear you dyed it when your hair turns grey, when you zip up your trousers and your belly's in the way, you're the oldest swinger in town. Here you come, and there you go, wire wheel spokes and a stereo, but the engine's clapped and the driver also. You're the oldest swinger in town. When the barber takes a little less time each week, the kids don't understand a word you speak. When you walk into a disco and they offer you a seat, you're the oldest swinger in town. You prefer a pint of shandy to Bacardi and Coke. The songs are too loud, there's too much smoke. You'd like another dance, but afraid you'll have a stroke. You're the oldest swinger in town. Here you come with your chest all bare, a little gold ingot and a lot of gold hair, like the disco king meets Yogi Bear. You're the oldest swinger in town. When you're feeling as stiff as a skinhead's boot, you rub on Vic where you used to splash brute, and the latest punk fashion is your wedding suit. You're the oldest swinger in town. When you have to go shopping for your sex appeal, Travolta shades and 9-inch heels, to say a man is just as old as the woman he feels. You're the oldest swinger in town. Here you come with your lips closed tight. You never smile, you know it wouldn't look right, 'cause your denture's glowing ultraviolet light. You're the oldest swinger in town. And you look so mean 'cause your pants are too tight. You're the oldest swinger in town. And it takes you all night to do what you used to do all night. Yes, you're the oldest swinger in town. Yeah, I'm the oldest swinger in this room anyway. Tales from the Jails, John G. Sutton. Do please like and subscribe. And don't forget, folks, it's on Amazon. That's my book, by the way.